10,000 years of human civilization, and you were born just in time to experience Hatsune Miku concerts. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I'm glad you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'd like to sit back in my squeaky chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about the House of Mouse card game. That's right. In today's video, we are talking about Disney's Ravensburger's Lorcana, and boy, howdy, is this not at all like yesterday's video where it was more doom and gloom for Star Wars Unlimited. Instead, in today's video, I'd like to very happily say that I see a lot of good things in Lorcana's future. That's right. And in case you guys are relatively new to the channel as you're watching this, I've always been cautiously optimistic when it comes to Disney's Lorcana, the same as I was with Star Wars Unlimited. I said for both card games that they need to be careful. The people who were interested in them had to be careful. And that especially if Lorcana pursued the same kind of hyper collectability that Star Wars Unlimited pursued, it would be disastrous for the card game. And here I am, at least a few months now since my last topic for Lorcana, and I'm proud to say that the game has not looked any better than it does right now, okay? And I am extremely optimistic about the future of Lorcana, and I dare say that fans of Lorcana can feel super vindicated right now at all the guys in the past who told me to calm down and not be so pessimistic. You guys are right. Lorcana is definitely not Star Wars Unlimited. It definitely has a future, in my opinion. Let's talk about it. So, first things first, let's follow up on the biggest change to Lorcana since the release of the game itself, and that would be rotation and the Infinity format. You see, back in May of 2025, it was announced that Lorcana would introduce a rotation to the sets, and that every year the 4 oldest sets would siphon out of legality. Although cards from those sets could be reprinted at any time in newer sets to maintain their legal status. Since that announcement, we have had the first rotation with the first 4 sets. Okay, hang on. It's first chapter, obviously, Rise of the Floodborn, Into the Inklands, and I think Ursula's Return were the first 4 sets of the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's either Ursula's Return or Shimmering Skies were number 4, but I'm like 90% sure Shimmering Skies is number 5. Anyway, September was the first full set rotation. 4 whole sets were kicked out of the game. And since then, everything's been fine. There was a lot of worry, fear, some pessimism about rotation in general. But overall, since September, which I think is when, I'm 90% sure that that's when rotation happened. Man, I should probably follow the meta closer than I actually am. But anyway, since rotations happened, things have been looking good. The metagame appears to be healthy for all intents and purposes. I'm seeing more channels pop up all the time talking about not just collecting Lorcana, not just talking about the news of Lorcana, but I'm seeing more channels popping up talking about the metagame of Lorcana, the tournament scene of Lorcana. And that's a good sign. That tells me that there's an audience and a niche here on YouTube for people who are willing to actually talk about the game, talk about decks and such, and really try to put their enthusiasm out there, which is always a good sign, and I'm seeing more and more of it all the time. And more than that, elsewhere on the internet, with the exception of obviously the most negative places in existence, you're seeing a lot of positivity and optimism around Lorcana, even for the very first set, which, remember, okay, the first chapter, Ravensburger, made it very clear from the get-go that they were going to make this set super hyper available for everybody. It was going to be the most available thing ever. If you wanted to play with the first chapter, if you wanted to open it, you'd be able to. A lot of people, myself included, were highly skeptical of the collectability of this card game with that kind of stance in mind. Here we are. First chapter came out in 2023. It's been 3 years. It's been almost 3 whole years since Lorcana first dropped. And while it's not as high as it's ever been, it's not done what some people were expecting it to do upon rotation, which was collapse completely with no more legality in the main set, in the main format. It didn't collapse. In fact, you can still get, I think it's hard to find boxes under like $250 or anything, which is a great sign for collectors, investors, which are going to be the backbone of any TCG going forward. I know that a lot of people out there don't like to hear that, but like it or not, people spending big money on your card game is what keeps the card game in business. I know that that's a shock, but the guys out there who are spending $20 a month at their LGS to get a few cards for the deck, they're not the guys who are keeping a card game in business. It's the people who are buying cases and cases of the product because they think they'll be able to sell it either for a quick return now or for a lot of money down the road. With that in mind, a lot of people were super pessimistic about the first chapter, and as recently as like November, I think we were still seeing reprints of it hitting the market. New product coming out in big box retail stores. But even with that accounted for, and even with the rotation accounted for, people are still buying it. You're still seeing sales. You're still seeing people pick up the oldest set in the game that is basically unplayable anywhere. You're still seeing the enchanted cards from that set have quite the price tag, especially that Elsa. That Elsa is effectively, for all intents and purposes, the Lorcana equivalent to Charizard, Black Lotus. What would be the Yu-Gi-Oh? I want to say Blue Eyes White Dragon from the very first set. It could be Dark Magician too. There's a lot of I don't know what the definitive Holy Grail Yu-Gi-Oh card really would be. That's for a different channel, I suppose. But yeah, those cards are desirable, and there's more and more people talking about the game, the meta of the game, the collectability of the game, news. There's all kinds of it feels like all the time I'm hearing about cheaters getting caught at bigger tournaments, which is crazy to think about that still goes on, but anything for a win, right? Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the world of Lorcana. There are still criticisms that people have for the game. I am hearing that there's still not substantial tournament store support for the game. There's some promos that nobody really wants, but I suppose that could just be a side effect of it being relatively casual. But remember, Lorcana is a casual-ish game in terms of core design, and it is, in my opinion, aimed at a younger audience. So maybe not having hyper-competitive cards that you can only get through tournaments is a good thing, but it is still something that I have heard people complain about. I've also heard people complain about the fact that you can't really progress in terms of their equivalent of the pro scene for Lorcana through local events. You have to go to the bigger tournaments just to qualify for the larger tournaments. You can't, there's no point system for progression in Lorcana, unlike with card games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Flesh and Blood, where you can attend a bunch of local events, and that alone will qualify you, if you're good enough and if you attend enough, for the higher tier events. But yeah, when I was back in November, I think, was my last discussion video for Lorcana, and I was talking about Whispers in the Well, I believe was the last set that come out, and Whispers of the Well was a great success, I think. A lot of people like it. Fabled was hot on the heels of Fabled. People really like Fabled. I don't think I've talked about that set, but people really enjoyed it quite a bit. So Fable was a success. Whispers in the Well was a huge success. It has a Goliath card in there. I still don't have that Goliath card, but I would like it for my personal collection. And there's a new set on the horizon. I think it's called Winter Spell. It's got Elsa in it. It's got Pocahontas in it. And I think it's going to be another smash hit just because people are really... I'm seeing a lot of chatter online. A lot of people who are hyper interested in that specific set, more so than I was even seeing for Whispers in the Well. Now, maybe this is just a byproduct of the kind of bullish hyper hyper FOMO cycle the entire TCG market appears to be experiencing right now, because there's a lot of that. People are buying out One Piece, Pokemon. They're buying up Dragon Ball Super, for Christ's sakes. So yeah, it makes sense that some people who are looking to make a quick buck would turn to a game that has had success and is being more positive. That makes sense. But also, I do believe it's legitimate interest. I personally believe it's legitimate interest. And with that in mind, going forward, I'm going to, as I've said before, I'm an opportunistic buyer. I buy what I like, and I buy what I think is at a good discount. A lot of Lorcana, with my new positivity in mind, is effectively at a discount. Especially the first chapter for how old it is. It's 3 years old. Will Ravensburger keep up their policy of just printing it into the ground forever? I think with 3 years under the set's belt, now is a good time to start stress testing that, so to say. So sooner or later, I have some other things I need to buy. There's a new Yu-Gi-Oh set coming out that I really want to get a lot of, but at least a box or two just to sit on would not be a bad idea, in my opinion. So I'm probably going to grab like 1 or 2 boxes of the first chapter just to throw on the shelf over there and enjoy that. But yeah, my own speculative future purchases aside, Lorcana's looking good. And I'm very happy to be able to make this video about it, because I've said it on the channel before, and I'll say it a bazillion times. I don't want any card game to fail. I want them all to be successful because I want a healthy and super diverse market. Giving individual players and card game fans a lot of options forces individual companies to really do their best to give the best product they can. So when there's a lot of healthy competition, I personally think it's good for the market. So when there's Star Wars Unlimited fans telling me that I want the game to fail, I don't want the game to fail. Lorcana fans who are telling me that I wanted the game to fail, I didn't want the game to fail. Magic fans, Pokemon fans, Bleach TCG fans, I don't want any of them to fail. I don't want any of them to go down in history as another dead card game, because I legitimately want as much variety as possible, because I think that's a good thing for the market. But that's all I got for you kiddos today. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you agree with me, disagree with me, think my beard looks absolutely gnarly, whatever have it. I'm happy to read your comments. Please check out the Discord and the Patreon, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay.